The salient features of the ideology of Pakistan and evaluate its role in the development of Muslim nationalism. The ideology of Pakistan is based on Islamic principles and the belief that sovereignty belongs to Allah Almighty. The Muslims of the subcontinent believed that their social, cultural, and political identity could only be preserved in an independent Islamic state. The main features of the ideology of Pakistan include the concept of Tawheed, oneness of God, Risalat, prophethood, justice, equality, democracy, and freedom. Islam provides a complete code of life that guides Muslims in all aspects social, political, and economic. Therefore, the ideology aimed to create a society where Islamic teachings could be practiced freely. The ideology of Pakistan played a vital role in developing Muslim nationalism. It provided a clear distinction between Hindus and Muslims. While Hindus followed their own religious, social, and cultural traditions, Muslims considered Islam a unifying force that made them a separate nation. Leaders like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Allama Iqbal, and Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah emphasized that Muslims and Hindus were two different nations that could not coexist peacefully under one government. This concept strengthened Muslim political consciousness and ultimately led to the demand for a separate homeland. The ideology thus became the foundation of the Pakistan movement and inspired millions of Muslims to struggle for an Islamic state where they could live according to their faith and traditions. Hence, it remains the guiding spirit of Pakistan's identity and nationhood. Q2. Two-nation theory. Muslims struggle from separate electorate to separate state. The two-nation theory is the cornerstone of Pakistan's creation. It means that Muslims and Hindus in India were two distinct nations based on their religion, culture, language, and traditions. They had different ways of life, values, and social systems. The theory was not merely political, it was deeply rooted in the Islamic faith and worldview. Muslims believed they were a separate nation because their spiritual and moral values were incompatible with Hinduism. The practical struggle for a separate political identity began in 1906 when the Simla deputation met Lord Minto and demanded separate electorates for Muslims. This demand was accepted in the Minto-Morley Reforms, 1909, giving Muslims the right to elect their own representatives. The Lucknow Pact, 1916, further strengthened this unity between Muslims and Hindus, but soon it failed due to Congress's biased attitude. Later, Allama Iqbal, in his Allahabad Address, 1930, proposed the idea of an independent Muslim state in northwestern India. The struggle reached its peak with the Lahore Resolution of 1940, which clearly demanded separate states for Muslims living in Muslim-majority areas. Under the leadership of Quaid-e-Azam, the Muslim League united the Muslims of India under one platform. Finally, in 1947, Pakistan emerged as a sovereign state, proving the validity of the two-nation theory. It was the culmination of decades of Muslim efforts to safeguard their identity, religion, and political rights. Q3. How the Hindi-Urdu controversy was the basis for the identity of Muslims in British India. The Hindi-Urdu controversy of 1867 played a crucial role in shaping the separate identity of Muslims in British India. The controversy began in Banaras when Hindu leaders demanded that Hindi, written in Devanagari script, should replace Urdu in government offices and education. Urdu was not just a language for Muslims, it represented their culture, literature, and Islamic civilization. The Hindu opposition to Urdu deeply hurt Muslim sentiments and made them realize that Hindus wanted to erase their cultural and linguistic identity. This movement for replacing Urdu with Hindi was supported by Hindu organizations such as Arya Samaj, which used it to promote Hindu nationalism. In contrast, Muslims saw Urdu as a symbol of their unity, heritage, and religion. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan strongly opposed this move and declared that Hindus and Muslims could never be the same nation because their interests and values were entirely different. This controversy thus marked the beginning of political and cultural separation between the two communities. The Hindi-Urdu issue made Muslims aware of their distinct identity and strengthened the idea of nationalism among them. It created a psychological divide that later developed into political separation. The conflict over language showed that Hindus and Muslims could not live together peacefully within one system. Eventually, this realization contributed to the formation of the two-nation theory, which became the ideological foundation of Pakistan. Hence, the Hindi-Urdu controversy was a turning point in the history of Muslim political awakening in India. Muslims in the politics of India. The Lahore Resolution, passed on the 23rd of March 1940 during the annual session of the All India Muslim League at Minto Park, Lahore, is one of the most significant events in the political history of the Muslims of the subcontinent. It was presented by A.K. Fazlul Haq and presided over by Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The resolution demanded the creation of independent states for Muslims in the northwestern and eastern zones of India, where they were in majority. The importance of the Lahore Resolution lies in the fact that it provided a clear and definite goal to the political struggle of the Muslims. Before this resolution, the Muslim leadership was only demanding constitutional safeguards and rights within a united India. However, this resolution marked a complete shift from that stance, as it openly called for a separate homeland. It unified Muslims under one slogan and gave a new direction to the Pakistan movement. It also sent a strong message to both the British government and the Indian National Congress that Muslims were a separate nation and could not live under Hindu domination. The Lahore Resolution became the foundation of Pakistan's creation in 1947, as it awakened political awareness among Muslims and inspired them to struggle under Jinnah's leadership. Therefore, it holds immense historical importance as the blueprint for the future state of Pakistan. Q5. What was the Muslim response in the sphere of education to British colonialism? Highlight the services of Aligarh in education. When the British established their rule in India, they introduced a new system of education based on Western knowledge and values. This system was secular and ignored Islamic teachings, which created a sense of alienation among Muslims. After the War of Independence, 1857, Muslims suffered badly and were labeled as enemies of the British. As a result, they avoided Western education and remained backward compared to Hindus who quickly adapted to the new system. Realizing this backwardness, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan launched a reform movement known as the Aligarh movement. He founded the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in 1875 at Aligarh, which later became Aligarh Muslim University. The purpose of this institution was to combine modern scientific education with Islamic values. The services of Aligarh were remarkable. It produced a new educated Muslim class that understood modern sciences, politics, and administration. Many leaders of the Pakistan movement, such as Liaquat Ali Khan and Chaudhry Khaliqu Zaman, were the products of Aligarh. The movement also encouraged Muslims to participate in politics and revive their national consciousness. Therefore, Aligarh played a vital role in the intellectual and political awakening of Indian Muslims. It bridged the gap between modern education and Islamic values and became the center of Muslim Renaissance in British India. Q6. Discuss the role and services of Muslim scholars and religious institutions such as Darul Uloom Deoband, Nadwatul Ulama, and Jamia Millia Islamia in the promotion of Islam, revival, and educational development of Muslims in South Asia. Muslim scholars and religious institutions in British India played an essential role in preserving Islamic identity and promoting education among Muslims. When the British replaced Islamic rule with their secular administration, Muslims feared losing their religious and cultural identity. In this situation, several institutions emerged to safeguard Islamic values and educate the Muslim community. Darul Uloom Deoband, established in 1866, focused on traditional Islamic education based on the Quran and Hadith. It trained religious scholars who worked for the preservation of Islam and resisted Western influence. The institution became a center of Islamic revival and produced many influential scholars. Nadwatul Ulama, founded in 1894 in Lucknow, sought to create a balance between traditional and modern education. It aimed to prepare students who could understand both religious and worldly knowledge. Jamia Millia Islamia, established in 1920, was founded by nationalist Muslim leaders who wanted Muslims to get modern education free from British control. It encouraged unity, self-reliance, and education within the Islamic framework. All these institutions contributed greatly to the intellectual, spiritual, and political development of Indian Muslims. They strengthened Muslim identity, protected Islamic heritage, and provided the foundation for the ideological awakening that later supported the Pakistan movement. Q7. Analyze Jinnah's political career from ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity to the champion of a separate state for Muslims of India. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah had a long and dynamic political career. In the early phase, he was a strong supporter of Hindu-Muslim unity and worked to bring both communities together. In 1916, during the Lucknow Pact, he successfully convinced both the Congress and Muslim League to agree on constitutional reforms, earning him the title Ambassador of Hindu-Muslim Unity. However, his experience with the Congress after the Khilafat and non-cooperation movements 1920 to 22 changed his views. He realized that the Congress was only interested in promoting Hindu interests under the guise of nationalism. Events like the Nehru Report 1928, which ignored Muslim demands, further convinced Jinnah that Muslims would never get fair treatment in a united India. After returning from England in 1934, Jinnah reorganized the All India Muslim League and gave it new life. The 1937 elections showed the reality of Hindu domination when the Congress refused to share power with Muslims. Jinnah then became the true spokesman of the Muslims and declared that Hindus and Muslims were two separate nations. He led the Muslims toward their ultimate goal through the Lahore Resolution 1940, which demanded a separate state. His tireless efforts, political wisdom, and determination resulted in the creation of Pakistan in 1947. Thus, Jinnah's journey from an ambassador of unity to the founder of Pakistan reflects his deep understanding of Muslim needs and his unwavering leadership. Q8. Explain the two-nation theory and why Muslims struggled for the creation of a separate state. The two-nation theory is the ideological foundation of Pakistan. It is based on the belief that Muslims and Hindus in the Indian subcontinent were two distinct nations. They differed in their religion, culture, traditions, social customs, and way of life. Islam provided Muslims with a complete code of life that governed their political, social, and economic systems. On the other hand, Hinduism was based on caste distinctions and idol worship. These fundamental differences made it impossible for both communities to live together peacefully under one government. Muslims feared that in a Hindu-majority India, their religious, political, and economic rights would be ignored. The Congress leaders also promoted a culture that reflected Hindu dominance, which further alienated the Muslims. Under such circumstances, Muslim leaders like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Allama Iqbal, and Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah argued that Muslims needed their own homeland where they could live according to the teachings of Islam. This theory became the guiding principle of the Pakistan movement. The Lahore Resolution of 1940 clearly reflected the two-nation theory by demanding separate states for Muslims. Finally, after decades of struggle, Pakistan was established on the 14th of August 1947. Thus, the two-nation theory was not only an idea, but also the spiritual and political force that led to the creation of an independent Muslim state, Pakistan. Q9. Discuss the initial challenges to the constitutional development in Pakistan. After independence in 1947, Pakistan faced numerous difficulties in formulating a constitution. The country inherited a weak administrative system and lacked experienced leadership due to the migration crisis. The death of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah in 1948 and the assassination of Liaquat Ali Khan in 1951 created a leadership vacuum. The first major challenge was the distribution of powers between the central and provincial governments. East Pakistan had a larger population, while West Pakistan had more provinces, leading to political and administrative imbalance. The language controversy between Urdu and Bengali also caused tensions. Another obstacle was the difference of opinion between secular and religious groups. Religious leaders demanded that Pakistan should be an Islamic state governed by Sharia, while secular politicians preferred a democratic and modern constitution. The delay in constitution making also weakened political stability. The Objective Resolution, 1949, laid down Islamic principles, but it took almost 9 years to agree on the final document. Finally, the first constitution was adopted in 1956, declaring Pakistan an Islamic republic. In summary, political instability, regional conflicts, leadership crises, and ideological divisions were the main challenges that slowed down the constitutional development of Pakistan in its early years. Q10. highlight the different aspects of the Basic Principles Interim Report of 28th of September 1950. The Basic Principles Committee was formed by the Constituent Assembly in 1949 to draft guidelines for Pakistan's first constitution. It presented its interim report on 28th of September 1950, which contains several important points about the future political and constitutional structure of the country. According to the report, Pakistan was to be established as an Islamic republic, and sovereignty belonged to Allah Almighty. The government would be run by the representatives of the people within the limits prescribed by Islam. The report also proposed a federal system with powers divided between the center and the provinces. It provided for fundamental rights to be guaranteed to every citizen, including freedom of religion, speech, and assembly. The committee recommended that Urdu and Bengali should both be national languages. However, the report faced strong criticism, especially from East Pakistan, which demanded greater provincial autonomy and fair representation. Due to these objections, the report was later revised and further efforts were made to draft a new constitution. Despite its shortcomings, the Basic Principles Report was significant because it was the first formal attempt to define Pakistan's constitutional framework on Islamic and democratic principles. It laid the groundwork for later constitutional developments, leading eventually to the Constitution of 1956. Hashk Q11. Describe the salient features of the Constitution of Pakistan 1973 in detail. The Constitution of 1973, passed on the 14th of August 1973, is the most important legal document in Pakistan's history and remains in force today with amendments. It represents a national consensus among all political parties and establishes Pakistan as an Islamic, democratic, and federal state. The main features of the 1973 Constitution are as follows. 1. Islamic Republic. Pakistan is declared the Islamic Republic and sovereignty belongs to Allah. 2. Parliamentary system. The Prime Minister is the chief executive and the President is the constitutional head. 3. Federal structure. Powers are distributed between the Federation and provinces. 4. Bicameral legislature. Parliament consists of the National Assembly and the Senate. 5. Fundamental rights. Citizens are guaranteed rights such as equality, freedom of speech, and religion, Articles 8 to 28. 6. Provincial autonomy. Provinces have their own governments with significant powers. Judiciary. An independent judiciary ensures justice and constitutional protection. 8. Islamic provisions. Islam is the state religion. All laws must conform to the Quran and Sunnah. 9. Council of Islamic Ideology, established to recommend Islamic laws. 10. National language, Urdu declared as the national language. The 1973 Constitution successfully balanced religion and democracy, making it the cornerstone of Pakistan's political and legal system. 12. Evaluate the responsibilities of Pakistani citizens in the light of Article 5 of the Constitution of Pakistan 1973. Article 5 of the 1973 Constitution of Pakistan defines the basic duties and responsibilities of every citizen. It emphasizes loyalty, obedience, and respect for the state and its laws as fundamental obligations. According to Article 5, 1, loyalty to the state is the basic duty of every citizen, meaning that every Pakistani must remain faithful to the country, protect its sovereignty, and work for its progress. It forbids any act that threatens national security or unity. Citizens are expected to uphold the integrity and independence of Pakistan at all times. Article 5.2 states that obedience to the Constitution and law is the inviolable obligation of every citizen. This means that everyone must follow the laws made by legitimate authorities and respect the judicial system. Apart from these constitutional duties, citizens also have moral and social responsibilities, such as paying taxes, protecting public property, and participating in national development. Respecting national symbols like the flag and anthem also reflects patriotism and commitment to the country. In conclusion, Article 5 serves as a moral and legal guideline for all Pakistanis, reminding them that true citizenship means loyalty to the state and obedience to its constitution. These responsibilities are essential for maintaining peace, stability, and unity in the country. 1973 Constitution of Pakistan. The 1973 Constitution of Pakistan ensures a wide range of fundamental rights to protect the freedom, dignity, and equality of citizens. These rights are listed in Articles 8 to 28, and every law that violates them is considered invalid. The Constitution guarantees the right to life and liberty, Article 9, meaning that no one can be deprived of life or freedom except according to law. The right to equality before law, Article 25, ensures that all citizens are treated equally without discrimination based on sex, race, or religion. The freedom of speech, expression, and press allows citizens to share opinions freely while respecting public order and morality. Freedom of religion, Article 20, gives every person the right to practice and propagate his or her faith. Citizens also enjoy freedom of assembly, association, and movement, ensuring political and social participation. The protection of property, right to education, and right to fair trial are also safeguarded. Additionally, Article 25A makes education free and compulsory for children aged 5 to 16 years. The Constitution prohibits slavery, forced labor, and child exploitation, emphasizing human dignity. These rights empower citizens to live freely and contribute positively to society. However, they come with responsibilities, respecting others' rights and following the law. In short, fundamental rights are the backbone of Pakistan's democratic system, protecting individuals from misuse of authority and ensuring justice and equality for all. Explain the importance of democracy in Pakistan and its relation to the Constitution. Democracy means government by the people, where citizens elect their representatives through free and fair elections. It ensures participation, accountability, and protection of rights. In Pakistan, democracy is deeply connected to the Constitution of 1973, which provides the framework for a democratic and parliamentary system. The Constitution declares Pakistan as an Islamic and democratic state where sovereignty belongs to Allah and authority is exercised by elected representatives. It ensures that the Prime Minister and Cabinet are responsible to the National Assembly, reflecting the spirit of parliamentary democracy. Democracy strengthens national unity by giving all provinces and people equal participation in decision-making. It promotes freedom of speech, equality, and justice, which are essential for peace and development. Through democratic institutions like the Election Commission, Parliament, and Judiciary, citizens can express their will and hold leaders accountable. However, Pakistan's democratic journey has faced interruptions due to military takeovers, political instability, and corruption. Despite these challenges, the people of Pakistan continue to support democracy because it guarantees fundamental rights and the rule of law. In conclusion, democracy and the Constitution are inseparable. The Constitution provides the legal foundation for democracy, while democracy keeps the Constitution alive by ensuring that power remains in the hands of the people. Both together form the heart of Pakistan's political and moral strength. Q15. What was the impact of the 18th Amendment on Pakistan's federal structure? The 18th Amendment, passed in April 2010, was a landmark constitutional reform in Pakistan. It strengthened parliamentary democracy and provincial autonomy, restoring the true spirit of the 1973 Constitution. One of its major achievements was the abolition of the concurrent legislative list, which had allowed both the federal and provincial governments to make laws on certain subjects. After the amendment, these powers were transferred to the provinces, giving them greater control over sectors like health, education, culture, and environment. The amendment also renamed the Northwest Frontier Province, NWFP, to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, recognizing the identity of the local population. It enhanced the roles of provincial assemblies and chief ministers, ensuring a fairer distribution of resources through the National Finance Commission, NFC, award. At the federal level, it reduced the powers of the president, making him a ceremonial head, while the prime minister became the real executive authority. It also strengthened the election commission and judiciary, ensuring independence and accountability. The 18th Amendment reaffirmed that Pakistan is a federal parliamentary democracy, not a presidential system. It promoted unity by allowing provinces to manage their affairs while maintaining national cohesion. In short, the amendment deepened democracy, empowered provinces, and brought Pakistan's governance closer to the vision of its founding leaders, an Islamic federal